All right, we're going to talk about channel dependence today, which is one of the most horrible things that you will find in travel marketing. It's scary. It causes companies to make poor decisions consistently. It is probably the most frequent big red flag I see in travel marketing. So channel dependence means you're over-relying on one channel, whether that's a direct distribution channel or a secondary or tertiary distribution channel. For instance, if you are a operator of tours and activities with 10 destinations that you're in, and 90% of your bookings come from paid media or Google Ads, that's channel dependence. Let's say you are a small airline, and 80% of your bookings come from referred business or B2B partnerships. That's channel dependence. Channel dependence is when you've got too much of your business coming from one place. So here's how you know if you are channel dependent. Here's how we test whether a company is channel dependent. There are 4 core components, actually 5, depending on the type of company. If it's a company that's a distributor in and of itself, it's a different conversation. But let's start with the core one, the one that's the most easily identified. It's are 35% or more of your bookings, of your revenue, of your travelers coming from one source. If it is more than 35%, you're starting to edge into the channel dependence territory. Now, admittedly, you're way better off than some of the companies that we talk to. I will consistently get on calls with people who talk about their 80 to 90% business traction coming from one channel. And typically that's paid media of some way, shape, or form. And typically it's Google Ads. That is scary for a couple reasons. Number one, it's an auction. Costs will increase. You better hope a PE or VC funded organization doesn't come in that doesn't really focus that much on customer acquisition cost or that closely. That's typically going to be on the VC side, not the PE side. But you better be careful when you're heavily channel dependent, because if you have someone enter your market with external funding that's not as worried about individual unit economics and more worried about long-term market share, then you're screwed from a channel standpoint on Google Ads. So 35% or more of your bookings come from one source. You're starting to become channel dependent. Anything north of that, you're becoming very channel dependent. Here's another thing on channel dependence. Are you losing your organic traffic and not retargeting them? So when we look at channel diversity, this is not necessarily a channel dependency thing, but it's channel diversity. It's if you have organic traffic sources, make sure you're retargeting them. That would get you a check rather than an X on our scorecard of channel dependence and channel diversity. Third one, do you have distribution through both paid and organic channels? So if you've got paid search and paid social as your 2 primary customer acquisition channels, you are failing this test. You need to have an organic and a inorganic, rather paid acquisition channel, whether it's partnerships, whether it's referrals, whether it's word of mouth or digital acquisition on SEO, on paid media, on social channels, whatever it may be. Make sure you've got an organic and a paid distribution strategy. This one is the one that applies only to a couple of business formats, this next one, and that's going to be is distribution both direct and via third parties. So let's say you're a tour operator. Are you distributing only direct, or are you distributing only via Viator, only via third parties, or are you doing both? If you're doing both, you're a much healthier company because you have better control over your margins generally if you're on the direct side, and better control of what happens to your business. If you have a supplier relationship and you're the supplier supplying to an OTA, gets severed for any reason, your business closes overnight. So make sure you're distributing through third-party and direct channels. Last is, are you unlocking new channels? So one of the things that we see as most trouble for travel companies in digital marketing when it comes to channels is how much time and effort is being put into unlocking new channels. I like to see 10% of budget going to testing new things. And that means if you've got a paid media strategy and you're spending $100K a month on paid media, spending $100K a month on organic channels, which will be outsized, you wouldn't be spending that much. But let's pretend you've got a $200,000 marketing budget monthly, 20,000 of that should be going towards trying new things and unlocking new things, because that could be the next thing that takes you from 10 million to 50 million, or the next thing that prevents you from falling from 10 to 1 million, right? So make sure you're not over concentrating in a single channel. Make sure you're retargeting traffic that comes through organic channels using paid media. Make sure you're distributing through both organic and paid channels. Make sure you've got both first and third party distribution channels. And finally, always be working on unlocking the new channels. That puts you in a highly diverse situation, and you're much healthier and much more likely to survive and thrive in the travel industry.